This is a video on how to record weight within iCM's Care Tracker. So I am in our Care Tracker and I have selected our test person, Daisy Duck. And Daisy Duck has required monthly weights, which is what the majority of the folks that we serve in residential need is monthly. The other option is usually weekly. And I've seen a couple others sort of here and there if we're monitoring something specific. But we can schedule anything within iCM. So if there is something that has changed with the person and maybe they no longer need monthly weights, now they need weekly weights, maybe the nutritionist said, hey, can you take weights every other week? I need them twice a month. That's something that would need to be communicated to your supervisor so that I can then update that person's profile in iCM so that it shows correctly in the Care Tracker. So for somebody that requires monthly weights, you are going to see this weight record show up in their Care Tracker on the evening of the 20th of each month. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to take the weight on the 20th of each month. It would be preferable if you took the weight around the same date each month so that it's pretty accurate when we're tracking trends with their weights. But if you want to take it earlier or you want to take it after the 20th, you can do that just by selecting the calendar up here. So for example, today is March 1st, and I have selected the 20th in the calendar because I want to record the weight for Daisy Duck. So it's that simple to go into this weight record. Same thing if you were okay entering the weight on the 20th, but you wanted to do it in the morning instead. If you were in the morning shift, all you have to do is select the evening shift so that this comes up, and then you can go ahead and record it that way, okay? If it is somebody in your care that requires weekly weights, then those weights will be entered every Thursday in the evening, unless I am told otherwise. Those, because it's only a handful of our folks that require weekly weights, those are a lot easier for me to customize. So if you send me an email or send your supervisor an email saying, hey, I would like Susie Q's weight to be taken every Monday morning, I can go in there and I can change that pretty quickly and easily for one person at a time. Okay, but all of the other ones, like the weekly weights, we would like to keep that pretty standard and default within the system. That's why you have the ability to move forward and move backward within the Care Tracker calendar. Okay, so to enter a weight, you would just click on this evening button. And what comes up, you have a couple services that you're going to have to choose one of these. So we can either say this person's weight is stable, meaning if it's fluctuated at all from the last time that we took this weight, it's only fluctuated by a pound or so. We also have the option of saying that weight has increased by 5 pounds or more, and that weight has decreased by 5 pounds or more. In either of these cases, if the weight fluctuates 5 pounds, either greater or less, we need to notify the nurse as soon as possible so that the nurse can give us directives on what to do, because a weight shift of 5 pounds, especially if it's not planned, that's pretty significant for somebody that we serve. So in this case, I'm actually going to go ahead and say this person's weight has increased, just as an example. For the status, you have a couple statuses that you can choose. So if I've taken somebody's weight, obviously it's completed, and I can go ahead and say that's the status. If the 20th rolls around in the month and that person is out for vacation with mom and dad, or they are admitted to the hospital, then I can say that that occurrence is not noticed. And then I can go ahead, when they come back, I can record that weight, okay? Because our people do have rights. If somebody says, I'm not getting on that scale, I don't want to be weighed, then we have the option to say that they have refused the weight, okay? For this example, again, I'm just going to say that it's completed. I took Daisy Duck's weight and it has increased by 5 pounds or more. So this is completed. Time is the default time when I went in here. I can change it if I, took a little while to get to the documentation, but that's probably going to be pretty accurate when we're going in here. And the weight, I'm going to say maybe she went up to 155, which is pretty significant for Miss Daisy Duck because she's just a tiny duck. For time taken, you can leave that blank. And then if something is out of somebody's baseline, so especially if it's, increased by 5 pounds or more, or decreased by 5 pounds or more, in the notes, I would put all of the information because we have to call the nurse. So I would say, call the nurse, name the nurse, spoke with nurse Jackie Miller, but also put if this weight gain was planned or not. You know, sometimes our folks can see our nutritionist, Jen Whitlock, and Jen might say, hey, we need to add a dietary supplement to try and gain a little weight. So I would put in here whether or not this weight gain or loss was planned or unplanned. Doesn't make a difference either way. We still need to call the nurse, but I would just make a note if this is something that was planned or not. So I'm going to say this weight gain was unplanned, and nurse asked us to schedule a nutritional assessment ASAP. And then a great thing here is we have the mentions, just like in any other notes section within Care Tracker. So you could mention your supervisor, you could mention your program director, we could mention our nursing specialist, DeRosa. I'm not sure that she is up and running within this capacity to check iCM on a daily basis and receive these alerts, but once she is, you could simply send her a mention and say, DeRosa, can we please schedule Daisy for a nutritional oops, if I could spell that would help. And DeRosa will get that alert within iCM, and then she knows to add Daisy onto the schedule for the nutritional assessments. Again, I don't want to put that out there because I'm not sure that she's up and running in that capacity yet. But if you were a DSP, you could, you know, mention your supervisor, let the supervisor know this is something that we need. If you're an FLD, you can mention your program director to say, hey, this is something that we need. Can you help me schedule this kind of thing? So I would encourage you to use mentions. I think that that's something that's helpful and it will help us keep a paper trail, and it shows that you followed the nursing directives. So I would use that as much as possible. And you can go ahead and click done. Okay. So now this is, you know, weight is not an as needed chart. So once you've filled that out for the month, you're not gonna, you know, have an option to fill that out again. So if somebody has changed with their directives, whether the nurse has asked us to change something, PCP has asked us to change something, the nutritionist has asked us to change something, you're gonna have to let your supervisor know or myself know so that we can update this person's profile so you have the ability to add more weight as needed, okay? I do wanna show you how to pull this weight chart. So in order to do that, you're gonna go to the People tab. And you're going to go to Daisy Duck's eChart. And you're going to scroll down to these lovely green buttons. And you have the weight record here. So now we have our weight chart. You can see the start weight. This would be the first weight that was ever put into iCM for this person. And this would be the last weight that we see for this person. You can change the date range for your view. You can also pick, you know, a predefined date range. So it may last 30 days, last month, last 2 months. But if you want to see like a whole year at a time, you would just pick a start date and an end date in order to pull that information. You see a nice little graph of somebody's weight. So if we were taking it, you know, on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and we had all that data in here, you would kind of see those fluctuations in this chart. And then you also have the breakdown down here. So you can see the date and the time that it was taken. You can see the staff person that entered it. You can see what the weights were. It automatically calculates the change for you. So in this case, this was an increase of 13 pounds, which is pretty darn significant. And then you can also see the notes. So again, this is just my test person. So I just entered something in here so you guys could see this. But this is what it would look like for you. You also have the ability to switch to a list view, meaning you're not going to see this, this chart, this graph here. It's just going to list everything out for you. Okay. So that is how you pull the weight chart within iCM so that you can see sort of a range of dates and all of the data that you have put in there. Okay. So if you have any questions regarding inputting weight within iCM, please reach out to your supervisor. And if anybody in your home does not have the weight record within their care tracker, please reach out to your supervisor immediately so that we can get that updated and corrected for your home. Okay, thank you.